Good afternoon and welcome to ATN Society Watch. This is a program where we ventilate societal issues, give them aggregate attention with a view to prefer solutions that will benefit humanity. First, the headlines. FCT, retired military officers protest over unpaid entitlements. HMPV, Nigeria begins air traveler screening amid virus. 3 hospitals rejected my sick wife, Akigbe. United Kingdom, confusion as mysterious banana offering appears monthly. Remember that we are open for advert placement, news and events coverage, personality, society and political interviews, product, service promotion and commercials. You can connect with us on all our ATN socials on Facebook and YouTube, Atlantic Television Network, on Instagram and TikTok, Atlantic TV Network 1, on Twitter, Atlantic TV Net. Watch us live on our website, www.atlanticnetwork.tv. We'll go on a quick break. When we get back, I will introduce my amazing guest to you. Please stay with us.
Every day our lives are street.
We are one people, all of us.
Leaders, politics.
Nobody's ambition is what's the blood.
I have fought very firmly.
Natural occurrence, war, and the world economy.
I belong to everybody, and I belong to nobody.
ATN covers it all on ATN Politics today.
From the lines across the ocean through the Sahara, we bring on the sport news, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economic, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates.
Thank you so much for staying with us. Here with me in the studio to delve into this discourse is the delectable Wogo Uloma Eposhel, a business development director. Pleased to have you join us today, ma'am.
I'm happy to be here too.
You look beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you so much to the ministry. This demonstration follows a similar protest in December 2024, during which the retirees also shut down the ministry over the government's failure to settle their claims. Despite official approval for payments, they were informed that funds were unavailable to address the increase for the period between January and November of 2024. Additionally, they are demanding palliative from the salaries of medically boarded soldiers for the good of the country in different capacities. What are your thoughts on this story?
Before these people are military men, before they're military men, they're Nigerians.
Right.
They're human beings as well. And then they're military men. They're people who have served the country and all of us. And we're thankful for their service, of course. But now that they're done with their service, a test for work that they did, it's a lot for me to take in currently, and I just
is delayed. Why do you think is it, you know, the systemic systems that makes it in a way where these fundings are being delayed all of the time repeatedly?
To be fair, I've asked this question before. I don't work in the government sector, so whenever there's something, exactly what the problem is. And I've asked, and they said it doesn't have to do with the federal government.
Okay.
That most of these times, the federal government have actually dispersed these funds to the states, and the state is withholding it. Why they are doing that, I have absolutely no idea. So I guess somebody who works for the state would have to answer us. We should keep quiet, or you know, accept as a nation,
right?
Really.
Now, these people should do incentives to leave life to the government and to the people they serve. Now, what systems should be put in place to ensure that these people don't?
Right. Like I said, NIN, these regular things that
these
they would
people
require.
and these people, you know, don't have this compliance that these people have.
No, they do not. So that's why I think that it's that sector of the government, the military.
That would have been fully barricaded the whole entrance point. Even coming with canopies and chairs, because they intend to stay there the entire day. It's not an isolated case. It's not 4 to 5 people, right? Meaning there are a lot of them, and it's been a repeated structure. Imagine them talking about 30,000 that was delayed, payments that were delayed from February, incentives that were delayed. So you'd see that it's a long-term thing that's been going on for a while.
And that is true, because if they didn't actually deserve these payments, I don't think that once the protest starts, measures will start being put in place for the payment to be disbursed.
Exactly.
It's because
that's what I wanted. As Nigerians, why does it have? Why do you?
Why do we not get answers until we start?
Right. Major international airports to prevent the outbreak of human methamphetamine. Health Service has been mandated to screen passengers. We are not taking any chances. However, the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority, NCAA, has not issued a circular to airlines on implementing additional passenger checks. HMPV is a respiratory virus causing mild cold-like symptoms or severe respiratory infections, especially in young children, older adults, and individuals with weakened immune systems. Symptoms include cough, fever, nasal congestion with supportive care. Global concern continues to grow as HMPV spreads to countries like India, Hong Kong, Malaysia, and Kazakhstan. In the United, 1,000 people have been hospitalized due to the virus. Recent reports from the UK Health Security Agency indicate rising infection rates, particularly among children under 5. The surge in the cases has been attributed to colder weather and increased indoor activity, which facilitates the spread of respiratory viruses. The Nigerian Center for Disease Control and Prevention, NCDC, assured the public it is monitoring developments globally in collaboration with the Ministry of Health and Social Welfare. Director General Dr. Jide Idris refuted rumors that the World Health Organization declared HMPV a public health emergency of international concern. He added, our goal is to provide timely, accurate information and guidance to keep Nigerians informed and prepared.
It said that part of this virus was from an Italian man who flew in.
Yes.
So I like that measures are being put in place already. Right. Even though we haven't gotten any cases, I like that the measures are being put in place for international flight travelers. But I don't think we're ready for another pandemic, really. I haven't fully recovered from the last one. Personally, for myself, I haven't fully recovered. So I don't think we're ready as a nation. With the current status that we have, financially, we're just not ready. So I'm hoping that everything is being
wide enough, you know, for people to. I remember during the time of coronavirus, everybody said,
well, the earlier the better. I think we should go back to, let's not wait, because sometimes we like to wait until it's really bad until we're seeing it happening beside us before we take.
Thank you so much. Former Secretary of the Edo State Council of Nigerian Union of Journalists, Mr. Titus Akigbe, has expressed his grief over the tragic death of his wife. Prepared breakfast and later went to visit a neighbor on January hospital. Despite all efforts, she passed away at 12:15 a.m. on January 2nd, 2025. Chairman of the Correspondence Chapel, Mr. Yakubu, who led the condolence delegation, described the loss as profoundly painful. She sympathized with the family, urging them to find solace in God's comfort. The members of the chapel offered prayers for the repose of Mrs. Irene Akibe's soul and pledged continued support to Mr. Akigbe. Do you think that this whole thing we have in Nigeria, where a doctor has kind of one leg in government, one leg at their private establishment, do you think that plays a role in that? If the government was able to equip their hospitals, the government hospitals, and everybody is functioning there fully, do you think this will reduce, or that will reduce such cases similar to this?
I do think so. I do think so, because there's like a ton of private hospitals and their CEOs or the owners are consultants in these government hospitals. So most of the time that they're needed in the government sector where they are consultants, they're working in their private hospitals.
Right.
So I do think that if the government can equip their government hospitals, I think they'll do better. And another thing I think is affecting our government system is salaries. These people don't feel like they're paid enough for the stress that they go through. I've been to hospitals, and even when I'm in really dire situations and I'm telling a nurse, please man, can you just take a look at me? I'm not paid enough for this thing that you're doing.
That's
you don't
what they
pay me
say.
enough for this thing that you're doing. Yeah. They've said worse now. Nurses have said worse. So I do think that if you can, the government can, equip the hospitals, the government hospitals, and enough, I think that it would really help.
Now,
Really
when they say they are not paid enough, do you think it's as a regards to not being paid enough for the amount of service they give, or not being paid enough because of their status of profession? Now, when you go into a workplace, they tell you, we are going to pay you 400,000. You go into that workplace with the idea that, I'm using 400,000 for example. You go into that workplace with the idea that, oh, every month I'm going to do 400,000, right? Does it mean that when they start working in this system, because they were previously informed of the amount that was going to be given, when someone says, they don't pay me enough to attend to this, is that not your workload? What you chose to earn when you took that job?
It actually is, but most of the time, people don't have a choice. That's the way that I feel. People don't always have a choice. It's not new. It's not news that in the country that we're currently in, I don't think anybody's getting paid what they deserve. I don't think so, personally. I don't think I'm earning what I deserve to earn. I don't think anybody's getting paid enough. But these nurses, if they tell you how much they're earning, you would be shocked, actually, because I've had a couple people tell me how much they earn, and I do think that it's really poor, but I'm not a nurse. And I think that before money, there should be sympathy. There should be, this is what you chose to do.
Right.
So I feel like you need to be sympathetic enough to be a nurse. And some of them have lost that to, money. And another thing that our nurses do is constant comparison. I think everybody actually does it. They compare themselves with nurses outside the country.
Now, I was going to ask you that. That was you're headed towards the next question I was going to ask. Now, when people reject, when you go to, someone goes to a clinic and the person is rejected, what are your thoughts as regards what brain drain in the medical field has cost Nigeria and Nigerians? Now, brain drain in the sense that most of these medical practitioners, everybody is going abroad. Right. Over here, you hear them say the workload is too much. They never complain abroad.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Even if the workload is too much.
So I think that's really affecting it's really affecting the healthcare system and Nigerians in general, because the hospitals who do have some good quality doctors. There are some hospitals in Nigeria here that actually have white doctors. Yeah. Not all of us can afford to go to those places. So the hospitals we can afford, the doctors who we need are no longer with us. So I do think that it all just boils down to still what they earn, because they're not living for the weather.
Now, you previously mentioned what they earn, and you talked about, their earnings just now. Most of the people at the echelon of power, the people that make seemingly, as we say, make the rules, the cabal and men of power and women of timber, as it said, most of them do not take their treatment in Nigeria. Most of them will rather, they have a small leg pain, they're abroad. They have ear pain, they're abroad. Do you think that is the fundamental problem why the salaries of these medical practitioners haven't been looked into? Because when something is a pain point to you, now imagine a man of timber and caliber or a woman of strong power going to a clinic like this one and being turned back, right? Or one of the people in power or people that hold the structure of things, their family members, their children, their wives being turned back, right? Do you think that if they did not have access to take their families abroad, they would have looked for better ways to make the system work in a way that doctors are happier to stay, people get to earn better, since you've referred to most of the reasons why people want to leave is because they don't get paid well. Do you think if we cut out, let me say people in politics, people in power, people in government offices, their ability and access to go abroad, do you think if it was cut off, the system for medical practitioners and medicine and healthcare in Nigeria would be better?
Maybe. And I say maybe because when these people of timber and caliber do go to these hospitals, they're not treated the same way.
All right.
Yeah. So maybe when a politician walks into a hospital, you would be shocked at the kind of service that these people can provide. So maybe if they cut off the access to live in the country, maybe it would change, maybe it won't. I think it just all starts with all of us. Because if they do, it's nepotism. If they come to these hospitals in Nigeria, they're treated way better than regular, patients are. So maybe that would help, maybe it won't.
Are you on that? What you said now? Do you think we run a classic system? Classism is a factor.
I think it's everywhere in the world. We can't get rid of it. Classism is, it's just here to stay. It's everywhere. It's not just Nigeria. It's in the entire world.
Right.
You can't treat anywhere in the world that Elon Musk goes to. You don't have a choice.
But I mean,
really.
the medical practitioners are under oath to save
lives.
There's no hierarchy in the difference. Life is life for everybody.
Yeah.
The day someone falls asleep and stops breathing is over. The same way the person begging on the road just now dies is the way a rich person dies. There's no classism in death. Right. Now, when the oath they swear, do you think this oath holds any value in the grand scheme of things?
Just because people say that they would do things don't necessarily mean that they would do it. It's like giving you an example, like in a law court where if you want to be a witness, you get to take an oath and say that you can't lie. It doesn't mean that people are not coming on there to lie.
Right.
So they do take an oath, but it's not like I don't think they get punished when they default. I think I've never seen a doctor who got punished for rejecting a patient or anything. So their oath, I think, is just a moral upstanding. If you choose to uphold it, good for you. If
do you think there should be a punishment for that?
There's always supposed to be punishment for disobedience. There always should be like repercussions for your actions. There always should be something. Like if a hospital rejects a patient, what was the reason for this rejection? What happened? Things should be looked into, but sadly, they're not. I don't know if it's, I can't constantly talk about the government having to do these things, but
of course there need to be, ordinarily when we talk about the government is they have subsidiaries. We have the Ministry of Health, you know, under the government. The Ministry of Health has other departments and other subsidiaries underneath them. What then is the role of those people if they cannot checkmate things like this in the healthcare system?
Well, I do think that they should look into it. I don't see why anybody should go in for healthcare and be rejected for any reason. I don't care if you do not have the capacity to take care of this person. There are things that you can do.
Right.
Just like when somebody collapses, you're telling us about first aid and CPR and things to preserve that person for longer until the person gets the adequate care that they deserve. So to bring somebody into a hospital, I think you should do what you can first, just in case, and not just send somebody packing. Already, I'm sure I don't know how far these hospitals were, but you could have done something. You know, sending somebody away, even if the person ends up dying. But thank you. If I get to know that when I was here, they really did their best, even whilst they sent us to somewhere else, they tried to make sure that she's... I don't think he would be complaining if you just showed a little compassion.
All right.
Even if you can't handle the case. So I think that we should all just do better.
Thank you so much. Medical personnel, anywhere you are, empathy should be the watchword. Residents of Beeston, Nottinghamshire, remain baffled by a peculiar monthly occurrence involving plates of peeled bananas left on a street corner near a church. The mystery has persisted for over a year, with the bananas consistently appearing on the second day of each month. The phenomenon, centered around the intersection of Abbey Road and Windsor Avenue, has caught the attention of local resident Clara Schott, who first noticed the pattern. To address the issue, she put up a sign that read, "Please, respectfully, no more bananas." The uncollected plates and rotting banana leave such a mess, wishing wonder who or what is behind this curious ritual. Now, there's a church in Nigeria we've had several times when, you know, where they'll say someone goes to the stream to leave Fanta and leave fruits and all of that to appease some spiritual entity. What are your thoughts on this?
I don't think it's anything really. I just think it's somebody who's playing a prank on everyone. I think they didn't mention that, but it's just funny. I don't think leaving bananas is a ritual or for wildlife or anything. I just think somebody is enjoying everybody's reaction to these bananas. Maybe they did it once and they did not think anything of it. And now everybody is freaking out and saying, "Oh, I think that this is ritual. I think you're doing this." And if I was putting those bananas, it would be fun. You know, and I'll keep doing it on the second. And now I don't even know if it was really on the second. But somebody pointed that out, that this person was doing it on the second.
Right.
So I'm like, oh, you've given me a date. I think I'll do this on the second. I think that's what they're doing, really. But it's funny. I don't think it's anything serious.
But it's been going on for about a year.
Yeah, I mean, the longer the better, I guess. The longer the better, it's just bananas. But like they said, even if you're playing a prank, please clean up after yourself.
Well, don't you think if the person is cleaning up the person?
If you clean it the first month, they'll say, okay, it took him 7 days to come and clean it. Let's watch in 7 days. And I think they can actually, just you know that it's on the second of every month, you can cap out and wait throughout the second now and see if you can get this person, since they already have a date. But I don't think it's anything really. It's just bananas. I don't think there's anything to it. And if they leave it there to get rotten. So nothing is eating it. You know, I don't think there's, I think it's just...
Now, in recent times, not so long ago, I think I did a story a week plus ago, where there was something that had to do with ritualism in the church. Someone killed someone and buried them in the church and all of that. Now, in this story, you see that they said the bananas were probably a ritual carried out by the church. How did Christianity, as it were, come to the point where they attach Christianity with things that seem like traditional practices, as it were? I know that in the Bible, being a Christian myself, they offered cows, they offered burnt offerings
before Christ died.
Before Christ died. Why do you think the church is still in a state where people link such things to the church?
I don't know what church anybody offers sacrifices to. I don't know one. I've never been to a church where a sacrifice was offered, like a life thing was offered.
Like bananas.
Okay, like bananas. I mean, like Thanksgiving services, people bring these gifts for their pastors and stuff.
Right, but that is inside
the church. But I've never seen a church that leaves something outside, or like it's. And I think that another thing that we should look into is that just because people are taking up the name of church doesn't necessarily mean that they are serving God. Church is the people, it's not the person. Like, it's the people. We're a church. God is not the church. We are the church. So just because they said, oh, this is a church, it doesn't mean that it has anything to do with God. So it depends on what they're doing. Whatever they're doing in their church, to their God, if that's the case, really. And like you said, this conversation that you had sometime last about somebody burying...
Yes, burying a member of a church.
Inside a church.
Yeah, so they said it's called it crowd pulling ritual.
Clearly, we know that the person is not serving God. We clearly know that. They might have used God's name and all of that. But I feel like, you know how everybody knows that you cannot mess around with Muslims and not get repercussions for your action.
Right.
You can't do that. But the last time that God struck somebody dead, we read about it. We've never seen it happen. It was in the Bible. So I feel like they take the name of God in vain because of how forgiving and loving and He is. So really, that's why everybody does the things that they do with the name of the church, in the name of God. It's because they know that He's going to forgive me anyway. It's not like He's going to strike me dead. And Christians, following in the footsteps of our Father, were more forgiving as well. So when they're doing all these things, we're like, wow. However, it's not the same for other religions. So you do know that you mess around with this religion, you have something coming your way.
Now, I want to ask you something I noticed a few months ago. Let's say about last year. Let's say last year. Now, in that thing, I'm not one to compare religions because every religion is unique. Everybody is serving what it is they believe, But a certain religion, someone made a post about the head of the circle or the leader of the religion, not necessarily the leader, like the practitioner for the religion,